Welcome to the Sports Angle, live in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. Let's get into it. Go to our website, thesportsangle.com. We just recently wrote an article about the Las Vegas Aviators game we went to this past weekend. So go check out that article at thesportsangle.com and follow all our social media at The Sports Angle and follow your host at Rocco Rachiele. Double A. Welcome to the Sports Angle.
Thank you for having me, Rocco. Looking forward to a fantastic show. I'm also here representing the Stay Tuned Live podcast as well. And just always enjoy what you have to say and looking forward to getting straight to it, man.
Well, that's what you do. Stay tuned. And on the Sports Angle, I give an angle on all sports. Doesn't matter which topic it is. I give you that angle. And let's get into it here on the Sports Angle. Now, the NFL, it's a couple of weeks away. I mean, it's around 50 days away from the NFL season kicking off. What we're going to do right now for all our audio listeners on iHeartRadio and Spotify and all platforms we send this to, we're going to talk about all the overrated teams that are heading into the season. Now, I've kind of, listed out who I believe is overrated. I know you have teams that you believe are overrated. So I'll start out with my first pick, then I'll move on to yours, and we'll kind of do one pick here, your pick, and then we'll go back and forth.
Sounds good.
So my first pick, I've been going to the casino. This is the sportsbook capital of the world, and I really have been noticing that this team is highly overrated in the odds. They should not be anywhere near where they are on the odds sheet. And I'm going to go on our private jet, get on our Boeing, and take off from McCarran International Airport and go down to Phoenix, Arizona. And then we're going to go take a nice supercar and drive down to Glendale and check out the Arizona Cardinals. I believe this team is highly overrated. Kyler Murray, I respect his talent, but I just don't know if he is the man yet in Arizona. I feel like there's still time with Kyler Murray. Their running game is questionable. I don't know if their running game will get enough touches throughout the game. Wide receivers, they look promising. But AJ Green, he is on the older side of his career. DeAndre Hopkins, he can't do everything on the field. Larry Fitzgerald, we don't know if he's even coming back. He hasn't even announced it yet. And their offensive line, they've made upgrades to it. Still not good enough. So I have the Arizona Cardinals as my first team that is overrated. And for the people out here in Las Vegas who study the odds, 33-1 is the Arizona Cardinals. I believe that is way too high. I don't even have them being a playoff team, as a little bit of a spoiler for our NFL preview we do in August. So first team, Arizona Cardinals. Double A, what's your first team?
Man, you know what's crazy, man? Not to give away too much of my list, but I definitely have the Cardinals somewhere on my list too. So we're definitely like-minded on that. But for me, my first team that's overrated, and somewhat of the same exact reasons that you were saying, is I have the Baltimore Ravens as my number one team. And the reason why I say that is because same exact thing. I respect Lamar Jackson's talent, but for me, he is not exactly the guy yet. When the game's on the line, we've seen and it's shown that he hasn't necessarily delivered on all occasions like he should, being the representative and the leader of the locker room. Like he's making himself out to be what John Harbaugh is making him out to be as well. So for me, I definitely think that the Ravens are the number one team. I get it. They're a great defense. Historically speaking, in the NFL, they're always a great defense. They're usually somewhere within that top 5 NFL defense list. But for me, when it comes down to, especially in this new era of the NFL, you need that quarterback that can deliver in crunch time. And for me, for the same exact reasons that you said for Kyler Murray, I think that Lamar Jackson can't deliver it when it matters. I need to see it more going into this season. So, yeah, I believe the Baltimore Ravens is my number one overrated team.
And that leads into my second pick because, man, we're on the same wavelength. Like the Baltimore Ravens, I just believe it's not their year. I'm not going to go overboard and say they're not going to be a playoff team. I'm not going to go that far. However, with the odds, considering we're here in Las Vegas, the sportsbook capital of the world, the fact that they are 14-1, they are the 5th highest on the list, it makes them overrated to me. I just don't see it. I'd actually would take Cleveland at this point over Baltimore. 5 years ago, that would have never come out of my mouth. But 5 years later, here we are. So Baltimore Ravens, second choice for me. I'm going to turn it over to Double A from Stay Tuned. And what's your second pick?
My second pick, man, is actually, like I said, we were on the same wavelength as the Arizona Cardinals. I definitely think Kyler Murray is not exactly the guy yet. Although I will say, just could kind of twist it a little bit. I think if you're going to ask me between Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, who I would rather have as my quarterback, I'd take Kyler Murray all day because I believe that, he actually it's not consistent yet, but he's shown that he has the ability to perform in crunch time. And I definitely think outside of him not being exactly the man just yet, when he does become the man, I believe Arizona will rise. But for right now, because of the fact that he's not the man, and they did bring over an older J.J. Watt, who at any given moment could just, decide he's done for the rest of his career. I think the Arizona Cardinals are definitely number 2 on my list and highly overrated.
Talking about overrated teams in the NFL, I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. We're here with Double A from Stay Tuned. Let's try to not have the same picks, and hopefully the third one on my list will not be the same.
I think we're going to be split on the third one.
I believe so, because my next pick, they are 28-1 at the casino, at the sports books. That is the New Orleans Saints. All right, the Saints to me are overrated considering you lost Drew Brees. Alvin Kamara, I don't believe he'll be able to carry the team on his back. Michael Thomas, it seems like he doesn't even want to be there at this point. Offensive line, it is consistent, but when you have a quarterback who likes to have a bakery open 24/7, it's going to be really hard for the New Orleans Saints offense to get much done. Defense, they tore that down. They really are rebuilding a defense. So New Orleans, I have them on my pick as overrated. Double A, what's your next?
Yeah, we definitely have split. My number 3 team, and regardless, you could open the checkbook and pay players all you want. That's great. But in the NFL and in the NBA and all sports, chemistry matters and everything like that. So my number 3 team, since they cashed out a lot and opened up their checkbook, I'm going to say the New England Patriots. I just think that I love and respect Cam. Cam has been one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL, especially in the new era. But being that Cam is definitely on the older side, and historically speaking, Alabama quarterbacks, especially rookie Alabama quarterbacks, hasn't necessarily always panned out in NFL under the Nick Saban era. I definitely think that the New England Patriots for me is my third overall overrated team in the NFL going into the 2021 season because of the fact that, I have yet to see Bill Belichick without Tom Brady be successful, and I don't think it's going to happen this year just yet either. I think he is now going to be experiencing a rebuilding phase, and I just don't think that I think people think that because Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick, he's just some kind of magical wizard and can make all these players do magical things, and I just don't see it happen.
I can understand that. The New England Patriots having to rebuild for the first time in 500 years. I understand all of that. As we're talking about overrated teams here in the NFL on the Sports Angle, I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. We're here with Double A from Stay Tuned. My fourth and final pick on overrated teams in the NFL, and this is going to piss a lot of people off. There are going to be people that are going to be in the chat ranting about this because how about them Cowboys? The Dallas Cowboys, that organization, man.
I don't even have them rated, bro. Like, to me, they're so at the bottom of the barrel. Like, that's just my opinion.
But the odds makers in Las Vegas, 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. and the fact that the Washington football team, the Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, well, they are the odds-on favorite to win the NFC East. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with the NFC East. I don't have a problem with that at all. But to win the Super Bowl at 25-1, that is absurd, and that is extremely unrealistic. So that's why they are overrated. The Dallas Cowboys, my fourth and final pick for the overrated NFL teams. Double A, who do you got?
My fourth and final NFL team, and this may actually, people may actually agree with me, or this may actually shock some people. But I'm actually going to say the Seattle Seahawks are my number 4 most overrated team in the NFL going into 2021. Reason why I say that is because, yes, don't get me wrong, Russell Wilson is fantastic. He should be an MVP here really soon. I totally agree. The problem is I have with that is if you notice, if you ever watch a Seattle Seahawks football game, what do you see Russell Wilson do 99.9% of the time? He's running
for his life.
He's running for his dear life. And because of the fact that I think that that's not sustainable throughout an NFL season, especially if they're over here talking about extending the regular season, I don't see them being able to, like, especially because they didn't make the necessary investments going into 2021 to repair that offensive line to where I don't think that he's going to be continuing to run for his life. And that's why I think that the Seattle Seahawks are going to be the overrated team because, yes, they may or may not make the playoffs, and it's all on Russell Wilson's shoulders. And especially because he's always running for his life, I think he's just one low hit away from Seattle's whole season just
Talking about overrated NFL teams here on The Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. We're here with Double A from Stay Tuned. I understand all your picks. I don't agree with one of them. However, I understand the logic behind it. Now, I'll open up to the chat. I'll open up to all the people on our subreddit. For all the audio listeners, go on to Twitter. Use the hashtag The Sports Angle to engage in the conversation. Because I want to know what everyone else's angle is on who you have as overrated. Now, we're going to transition here to the NFL draft because Las Vegas next year, the NFL draft will be live in Sin City, in the entertainment capital of the world. I will be there. I already have everything set up. Yeah, see, there you go. You as well. And with the NFL draft, there are mock drafts. And I saw something recently that made me have this topic be brought to light. There was a way too early 2022 NFL mock draft, and I was just like, cut that out. It's 9 months away. It is way too soon, way too early to have a mock draft. And they're sitting there, and I read the article. I'm not going to give credit to the person, but I was reading the article, and they're like, yeah, with the first pick, this team's going to select this player. And I'm like, well, first off, that team probably might not even have the first pick next year. And thanks to Joe Burrow 2 years ago, it's confirmed that there's a college player who can have a breakout season and be number 1 overall pick who wasn't even on anybody's radar the year before. So I want to know from Double A, I want to know from everyone around the world who watches the Sports Angle, is it absurd to have mock drafts be this early when the season hasn't even kicked off yet?
I definitely think 100% it's ridiculous. But at the same time, in a weird way, I get the logic behind it. You know, they want to make, they want to keep it entertaining and it's part of their career to do so and everything like that. I get it. But at the same time, in that same sentence, and I know this may not make sense to some people, but to me, there's no logic behind that because, for one, kind of to piggyback off of Rocco, there is no way to confirm 100% that team, that player is going to get drafted to, is even going to be there. Number two, the player, knock on wood, may even get injured during the season. So there's that wild card as well. Then on top of that as well, you have to factor in that during the course of a college football season, there's always a mix-up of, oh, wait, now this person's here, this person's dropped down, and so forth.
It rotates.
Yeah, it constantly shifts and rotates all the time. So I definitely think 9 months before is crazy. If it was 3 months before the NFL season, then I get it. Or if it was like 4 or 5 months before the NFL season, to keep the people engaged and going, I get it. But 9 months, that's dang near a whole calendar year. Like a lot can happen in almost a whole calendar year. So I totally agree. But at the same time, I do get the logic behind it because they want to get people involved and get their thoughts and everything like that. And I understand it. But 9 months, that's just it's absurd when you think of time.
It's understandable. So let's ask this. An NFL draft, how hyped do you get for an NFL draft? Like what for your team? Like your team draft night, how excited do you get? How how enthusiastic do you get to watch the NFL draft?
I would say on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd be about an 8 as of late. And the reason why is just because, I always like to see young college kids make their dreams come true and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if like one of the guys who I think is going to be a top NFL player gets drafted to my team, which for the record is the Green Bay Packers. Just throwing it out there. I know Rocco just probably just was like, "Oh damn, here we go." But
I felt like Carl Johnson from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, like, "Oh boy, here we go again."
But like on the side note, the just for me personally, and I know some Packer fans out there that will disagree with me, but like for me personally, I just think that like I think as far as for my likelihood, we have misfired on the draft a couple of years. I think a wide receiver would have been nice, but I'm not going to get too deep into that. But overall excitement, I like it. The draft is always great. It's always great energy. The excitement and the thrill, because there are, especially as of late, there has been teams that will throw wild cards out there, and one of those teams happened to be in your city, which is the Las Vegas Raiders. You never know who they're going to draft on draft night.
No, we know who they're going to select. We just don't know which player they're going to select.
Oh yeah.
Like every year, the first round, pretty much. I wrote this joke down and I didn't get to use it. They pretty much in pen put Alabama, but in pencil they put the player down. That's pretty much what they do for the Raiders. Like it's the same thing every year.
100%, yeah. Especially with John Gruden holding the reins.
Yeah, and his interview style, I can't really do impressions that well, but he pretty much is like, "Well, let me tell you something, man. We gotta draft this player because he's good, man." I'm like, why do you say "man" every 5 seconds? It's just
gotta love that filler word.
Talking about your Packers for a second, because we're here on the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. We're here with Double A from Stay Tuned. Anyone who has watched this show over the 500 plus episodes we've done this, they know I'm a diehard Chicago Bears fan. So I love asking Packers fans this every time they come on the show. Do Packers fans care as much about the rivalry as Bears fans do? Because like Bears fans, they care passionately. Like if the Packers are on their schedule, they do not just one circle, they do like 500 circles on that Packers game. So like, do Packers fans care as much as Bears fans do?
Yes, 100%. I'm actually a part of a Packers group on Facebook that 100, I could like pull receipts up that 100% care as much about this rivalry as Bear fans do. To me, actually, and it's beautiful as far as for the NFL because of longevity wise, I think it's actually the greatest rivalry in the NFL, in my personal opinion. I mean, I'm not trying to be biased in any form of way, but if you just look at the longevity wise, like as far as like NFL over time, 100% it's been the Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers. It has never switched up. Like, Dallas has switched up their rivalries, whether it's been like San Francisco or the Eagles or whatever the case may be. There's been these great rivalries, but one half of those rivalries usually switch up with another team because the other team falls off. But the one thing I will say, longevity-wise, the Green Bay Packers and Bears, they've never fallen off. It's always been heated 100% all the time. And usually, in the case of the NFC North, it's one of those two teams winning the division 9 times out of 10 anyway.
Talking about the Green Bay Packers here on the Sports Angle, Aaron Rodgers Now I'm going to leave the bias aside here because biased, I want to sit here and go, hey, opt out of the season, take a year off, go to Hawaii, go to Jamaica, go to all these countries with your beautiful wife and enjoy yourself. Have a good time. Like biasly, that's what I want to say. But being unbiased, I will admit it would feel weird to not have Aaron Rodgers be in a Packers uniform. Like it would feel kind of odd if the Bears and Packers, you turn on the television and number 12 isn't scoring 59 points. So when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, we've heard the reports, we've heard the sources. Do you believe he will be back wearing that really crappy helmet in Green Bay on opening day?
I think he will be wearing that beautiful, gorgeous helmet come opening night. And the reason why I said it is because I usually don't like to make too much in athletes tweeting nowadays and everything like that, because I notice that a lot of athletes tend to do subliminal tweets for recognition and attention and things like that. But Aaron Rodgers recently just put a tweet out that was very simple and just said, "One more time," which gave me the impression that Green Bay has one more season with him to make him happy and make him, get the necessary needs and desires that he wants. Now, I will say this from a Packers fan perspective. Do I agree with every single one of Aaron Rodgers' needs and wants? No. I think some of them are a little ridiculous, and I think some of them, are borderline, bro, you're kind of being a little too greedy there. But I do admit that he does need just one more weapon. I mean, if you look at the NFC landscape, for example, and this is just me being me, I think the NFC is a lot more competitive than the AFC.
Absolutely.
That's just my opinion and everything like that. And if you look at the top teams in the NFC, all those teams have a really good 1 and 2 wide receiver combo. Whereas Green Bay, yes, they have the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL in Devontae Adams, but if you look at Allen Lazard, there's kind of a huge drop off there. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I get it. Aaron wants a little bit more talent, but Aaron has also the ability to make these guys way better than what they really are supposed to be because of his ball placement and his ability to throw and everything like that. But I just think that, hopefully Green Bay and him could come to terms, because to kind of piggyback off of what you said in the beginning, it will be definitely weird to see him not in the uniform, but at the same time, all good things do come to an end. So there will be some point where Aaron Rodgers isn't wearing this uniform. And I think we, as all Packer fans that are listening to this, need to come to terms with that. At some point, this man will leave. Hopefully it won't be on bad terms, because I hope it's not going to be on bad terms. And, but, at the end of the day, this man wants to be happy, and whatever makes him happy, he's a grown man. So, you can't really tell a grown man what to do.
Talking about the NFL here on the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rachiele. We're here with Double A from Stay Tuned. I believe we will have an agreement on this. You wouldn't want a Brett Favre 2.0. You wouldn't want a situation where Aaron Rodgers retires and then, oh, wait, no, I want to come back. Oh, wait, no, now I want to be traded. Oh, wait, no, I want to stay here now. It was kind of really ridiculous how that all ended with Brett Favre. And especially when he went to Minnesota, out of all places, that kind of had a bridge just for quite a minute. So with Aaron Rodgers, if he did decide to retire, let's just play this out. If he did decide to retire, he would have to return a huge portion of that money because he signed that deal with Green Bay. Would there be a stipulation in place to not allow Brett Favre 2.0? Would it pretty much be like, hey, once you've retired, you're not coming back. We're not doing this again.
I hope so, man, because I definitely don't want to see that situation. But however, I do know this man had when things were hitting against the fan and everything like that. I did see a lot of outlets and media sites and things like that point to the direction of him wanting to come back home. And for those who don't know, Aaron Rodgers' home is here in the Bay Area where I live.
Yeah, California. Yeah.
And if he does decide to do the Brett Favre 2.0, I could see it in San Francisco. Would I like it? No. But at the same time, it's like I know that man had like since draft day to put on that red and gold uniform. Like I mean, I think when on draft night, if memory serves me right, he even like one of the things he first said he's gonna make San Francisco regret not taking him or something like that.
Of course,
And,
that was his home. I think he still lives in Chico, California. I
yeah,
believe
I think
that's
he
where he's
does
at.
still live in Chico. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is about like I want to say if you are not from California, is about like an hour and 20 minutes drive to from San Francisco.
Yeah, if I remember, it's like north of Sacramento, if I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
correctly.
yeah,
Yeah.
you are. And so like would I be appreciative of it? No, but at the same time, I mean, like I hope he doesn't do that, man. Like that'll be a real sleazy move. Like I get it, you know what I'm saying? You have a lot of animosity against like this organization. You feel like they've done you dirty time and time again. I will say, as far as pay right now, they are doing you dirty, bro. You definitely deserve a whole hell of a lot more than Matt Ryan. I will say that for you. But at the same time, as a fan, it's just like I'm just gonna say it. We're broke right now. If you look at the salary cap, we can't afford to pay you anymore than what you're asking. So it's just like you got.
You're like SpongeBob. I have $3.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's kind of hard. So it's just I hope he doesn't do it. You know, coming from a Packers fan perspective. But however, if he does pull that sleazy move, I'm gonna lose a lot of respect for him. I'm gonna lose a lot of respect for him. A lot.
As we transition over from the NFL to MLB, I see your cap. You're wearing San Francisco Giants. I will eat crow. I'll admit it. I did not expect the San Francisco Giants to A, be in first place before the All-Star break. B, I did not expect their players like Buster Posey, Evan Longoria, Brandon Crawford to turn the clock about 7 or 8 years. And C, I will eat crow because I believe the LA Dodgers were eventually just going to topple over you and just leave you in the dust. It's like those drag strips. You've ever been to a drag strip? It'd be like that Pinto going up against a Ferrari. I just thought it was just going to be, I thought they were just going to take off and just go right past you. But no, that Pinto had some kick to it. It had a rocket engine attached to it. So, yeah, San Francisco Giants.
Driving it.
Hey, San Francisco Giants, they're doing well right now. Hey, represent your team. Tell us what's going on.
Man, honestly, this to me, just being a fan, it has the reminiscence of being like that 2010 year, like just of everybody like putting their egos aside and everything like that, and coming towards one camaraderie or one goal. And another thing that stands out to me as well from the 2010 year was the fact that our pitching is 100% leading the way. And the fact that we have even revived some pitchers and like brought them back, it's just a testimony to our pitching staff. I don't know, if there's a lot of true diehard baseball fans out there and everything like that, but if you are one, you can honestly, if you're not a hater, can honestly say the San Francisco Giants, especially from 2010 to up until this point, has consistently had great coaching from the pitching. 100%. We make diamonds out of mud, for lack of better terms. And the fact that we are winning, to your credit, with guys who have literally turned the clock back some years. And then you have a bunch of no-namers that are stepping up to the plate. And then you have the fact that we are actually, as a collective unit, last time I checked, I don't know if these numbers still are accurate, so don't rip off my head if I'm not 100% accurate on this, but last time I checked, we were the number one team in the MLB as a collective unit for home runs. So the fact that my team, who usually isn't a team that is necessarily known for home runs, is doing this, and we're all doing this in such a way where we're also the number one team currently in MLB through what's supposed to be, in a lot of mainstream media sources' eyes, was a rebuilding phase for us, is truly phenomenal, man. And I like just being here in the Bay Area. I could definitely say, like, especially the energy in San Francisco. If you ever do go to San Francisco, it has that magic at the ballpark of the years when we have won the championships in 2010, 2012, and 2014. So I just I hope we ride the momentum. I definitely love the energy that we're going into. I also got to check because of the fact that I've been doing shows and I didn't tune into the game today if we beat the Dodgers, because it's funny how you mentioned those guys. We are currently playing the Dodgers today, so I got to see if we have beat the Dodgers or not. But I just hope we continue. But I will say this on the spinoff: if you are a fan of baseball, it's pretty damn crazy that the NL West has 3 of the top 5 MLB teams currently playing right now, with the San Diego Padres, the Los Angeles Dodgers, and us truly, the San Francisco Giants. And to be quite honest, I honestly think all 3 teams are going to make the postseason. Like, I think one's going to get the wild card and the other one's going to slide in and so forth. So, yeah.
Someone did mention they are second behind Toronto. Hey, the Toronto Blue Jays are hitting home runs left, right, and center in a AAA ballpark. I mean, what do you expect?
They got Guerrero Jr., so you know what I'm saying?
Like, I say San Francisco is first by default because they're hitting them in Major League Baseball stadiums, not AAA stadiums. So I will say San Francisco's in first, but to give you the information, they are technically second.
Oh, okay.
You said with the pitching, I will give credit to Andrew Bailey, to Brian Bannister, both of the pitching coaches for San Francisco. Andrew Bailey was an all-star closer back in the day. Yes. So with him being part of the pitching for San Francisco, that's a big reason for why they're doing it.
100%. Yeah, I was actually going to say that next after you got done speaking, but you beat me to the punch. Like, Andrew Bailey has just like, it's all good. Andrew Bailey is just, yeah, man. Like, I honestly, like, as a fan, I will admit I kind of got depressed and kind of worried as a fan when not Buster Posey, our old GM hung it up, and like, cause Bruce Bochy had a lot of credibility with the guys in San Francisco, man. Like, he built a great rapport. He's very quiet, but with the guys, he knows how to reach each of them individually. And as a manager, you just gotta love that, because for a player, he meets you at halfway on whatever it is that you're trying to do, and he tries to do what's best as a collective unit. So when he hung it up, I honestly thought that it was going to be tough for us. But man, the way how we have been, oh my goodness! Shout out to the management, shout out to the owners, like. We win it all, baby. I got full faith, 100%.
I will say this, and I'm not being biased, but I'm totally 1,000% being biased. Your general manager, Scott Harris, came over from the Chicago Cubs. He was an executive with the Cubs, came over to the Giants, and he has been doing wonders for the Giants organization, signing the right players, making the right trades. So I will take credit and say the Cubs gave you an awesome general manager. So there you go.
Thank you, Chicago. We appreciate you. And again, like, that's just a testimony to like what we do. Like, we find like these right fits for us. They may not be like outstanding, like as far as mainstream media is concerned, but they fit for us. And then next thing you know, mainstream media ends up talking about us and then eating crow, like how you were saying. So I just love it all the way around. The Giants are tremendous. Like, especially like, because I went to opening night when it was like welcome back to everybody, like when in the state of California
after the pandemic, opening up capacity.
Like the energy when it was the Battle of the Bay Bridge. And for those who don't again live in the state of California, that's Oakland versus San Francisco.
Soon to be Las Vegas.
Yes, probably soon to be Las Vegas. But for that game that night, I can honestly say, except for the bleed seats, every single seat was filled up in that ballpark. And the energy inside of there, it felt like a World Series game. It felt like this. So it just, of course we won, and it was just so magical. And like, it's crazy that like all this is happening again. It's just like, unless if you live here, you wouldn't understand 100% what I'm talking about as far as the energy in the city and as far as like the players and everything like that. But especially because in San Francisco right now, like they had the San Francisco's 49ers ripped from them. And for those who don't know, the San Francisco 49ers, they don't play actually in the city of San Francisco anymore. They play in Santa Clara, which is actually 55 minutes away from San Francisco. So
Candlestick was way better. I'll say on record, Candlestick was way better than Levi.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the fact that like, you know, the Warriors came over from Oakland to San Francisco and like haven't necessarily panned out like how they wanted to with Klay Thompson going down this year for San Francisco and the Giants, it has once again turned into a baseball city. And the magic and the love that's there for the team and the team giving the love back, it's just, I can't express it enough. The 2010 feeling is there. And I definitely think we're about to win it all again.
Talking Major League Baseball here on the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. We're here with Double A from Stay Tuned. I'm glad you brought up San Francisco and Oakland because that was my very next question. Like, no, seriously, it was actually my very next question. I have it right here. So everyone talks about, oh, what if this matchup happened in the World Series? I've talked about Chicago versus Milwaukee, Boston versus New York. You've had LA versus Houston because fans want to see Astros versus Dodgers, but legit this time. But people have said, what about Oakland versus San Francisco? And I believe that would be intriguing. I actually would be interested in seeing the soon-to-be Las Vegas A's take on the San Francisco Giants. So if that series happened, A, who would win? And B, would the Bay Area pretty much sell out the entire 7 games? If it went 7 games.
To answer your first question, or your last question, I should say, yes, the Bay Area would 100% sell out in both Oakland and in San Francisco. And the crazy part is the tickets would probably be cheaper in Oakland anyway. So I know for sure Oakland would probably sell out first. So let me just throw that out there. As far as like what I love to see that World Series, 100%. Am I confident is that going to happen? I'm confident in one end, which is our end, but I'm not confident in Oakland's end. And the reason why is because Moneyball, 100%. Like they always believe in the Moneyball strategy, and they usually trade away their good players when they shouldn't, and it's like right before they bloom and blossom. So, you know, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Rocco, but didn't I believe the MLB trade deadline happened, right? I know with COVID, like the season kind of got
the MLB trade deadline is exactly 12 days away. So actually, you got time. I mean, we've got time for the Chicago Cubs to trade Javi Baez to San Francisco, Chris Bryant to Oakland. Like, hey, what do you need? Like, hey, you need a third baseman? Off you go. You need a shortstop who can run past the first baseman and trick the catcher. What do you need? So.
Well, the reason why I asked that question is because I believe that Oakland is going to be probably trading away a couple of their star key clutch players before the trade deadline, which is going to eventually impede their season because of the fact that they simply don't want to pay their players.
I mean, they already did. Like this weekend, they traded away Frank Schwindel. They traded him to Chicago. See? So they've already started that off.
There we go. See, already, I didn't even know that. My bad. I was actually in a business trip.
Hey, it's all good, man. Hey, baseball is so big. I mean, it's hard to really keep up with everything.
Yeah. So, like, yes, thank you for that point. But like, yeah, as far as like the Battle of the Bay Bridge series, I would definitely like for it to happen again. I would like for it to not have an earthquake going this go around because in 1989 there was a big earthquake that kind of rocked the stadium between that World Series. So hopefully that doesn't happen if it does happen again. And I definitely think that we would come out on top because historically speaking, as of late, and I'm not being biased when I say this, if you look at the matchup between us, when we always play against each other over these last like 10 years, we have literally spanked the A's every single
clap them cheeks. There you go.
Every single time we play them. Don't get me wrong, I give them credit. They do get their wins in, but as far as the overall series, we usually end up winning it anyway. So it's like as of late, we just have like, yeah, I definitely think it's Giants all the way. Like, don't get me wrong, the A's are phenomenal. They're right on the Houston cheating Astros heels. And I hope that they do topple the Astros because I just coming from a baseball fan's perspective, just kind of not to give Tim too much limelight because I don't like talking about him, but just for them to do what they did is a real sleazy move. I don't want to curse on your show, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm using sleazy. But like I just think the Houston Astros are just trash for what they did, and I hope that like I don't believe cheaters should prosper. So I definitely think that their due is still due. Like I don't think that they're done paying their due. So I definitely think that the baseball gods are definitely gonna eventually take over. And like I don't think the Houston Astros are gonna be number one in the AOS as what they are currently right now.
I agree with you on that. I've been telling people for months, Houston will get their comeuppance. Something will happen that will cause them to lose. Maybe it'll be Albert Pujols 2.0 where someone hits a home run so far out of the stadium it hasn't even landed yet. So maybe that will happen in the playoffs. We'll see. I want to talk about San Francisco Giants just for one more second because Gabe Kepler, so many people wrote him off in Philadelphia. For anybody who doesn't know, I do support the Philadelphia Phillies. They are a team that I have watched for about a decade and a half now. And I always believed that he was a good manager, that the Phillies were holding him back. He wasn't holding them back. They were holding him back. So to go to San Francisco after being replaced by Joe Girardi, which is a completely different conversation that I can have another time, I believe it would be a real good scenario for Gabe Kepler to replace Bruce Bochy, to take over, have a new start in San Francisco. He's done well with the Giants organization. So what do you think about Gabe Kepler, and could he lead them to a World Series if you keep up with what's going on right now?
If we keep up the momentum that we're having, and of course, obviously, with sports, there's always that word of injuries. If bearing injuries to our key guys and everything like that, I definitely think that he can lead us. He has shown that, like, I'm not going to compare him to Bruce Bochy in any way or anything like that because they're definitely their own entities. I don't want to get that confused in any form of way. However, I will say Greg has definitely done a great job of taking the torch and getting that, like, magic going for us. Like he somehow came in and like drank the water of like, oh, this is how this team operates. This is how this organization builds. This is how this organization gets their players going and everything like that. So he has definitely sold out to our system 100%. And I think that like if he continues up with what he's doing for our organization and the players continue to respect him and the players continue to do what they're doing, I definitely think that we can win it all. And this is not an unbiased opinion at all. You can, if you actually watch baseball and watch our games, like, yeah, like because of the fact that I said in the beginning when we had this baseball conversation that pitching is leading the way for us. If you're not a real true baseball fan, you're not going to appreciate our games because they're usually 9 times out of 10 low scoring games anyway. So if you don't appreciate baseball, you're not going to really understand the San Francisco Giants because our pitching has led the way 100%. And the fact that Greg has rode that momentum and understood that and continues to ride with it, I believe 100% we're going to win it all. And I think if you're going to ask me as far as like who I think we're going to face off in the World Series, I would love it to be the Chicago White Sox, man. Like I know you're a Chicago guy. I know you're a Cubs fan and everything like that.
Hey, I support all Chicago. I don't care who it is. I support them all.
But like I'm over there. I don't usually watch other teams as far as baseball because I'm so focused on the Giants and everything like that because I love the Giants. And like it's all as far as baseball, it's really like all I know, except for the fact that don't get me wrong, I do watch other teams, but like my favorite player was also overall like Derek Jeter. So I definitely want to get that there for the record. I do watch other teams. But like for me personally, I only want to tune into San Francisco Giants games. And like, man, it's something magical.
Talking baseball here on the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. We're here with Double A from Stay Tuned. I have said Brewers versus White Sox. That's what my prediction is. I believe that would be an amazing World Series to watch. The offense, the defense, the bullpen between both teams.
I think the Brewers phenomenal. Are our biggest competition, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, Milwaukee, most people have counted them out because the NL West, everyone's just assuming one of those teams is going to be in the World Series. Do not count out Milwaukee. Since you brought up Derek Jeter, Miami Marlins, they're an interesting team, but I want to ask from this perspective, there were so many people that were bashing Derek Jeter when he traded Stanton, traded Yelich, traded Ozuna. But with hindsight being what it is, he might have actually been a genius. Stanton being traded to the Yankees, he pretty much hasn't done much for the Yankees organization. They almost want to get rid of him, but his cap hit is so big, they just physically can't.
Exactly.
Christian Yelich has been like the one that's kind of was unfortunate, but the trade haul he got back, two of those three prospects he got back are on the starting lineup right now. So you could consider that a wash if you wanted to. And with what happened with Marcell Ozuna in his personal life, he's not playing for the Braves anymore. And getting that prospect back in return, it was a good trade as a result. So Ozuna, Yelich, Stanton went out. They got 7 prospects in return. They made minor trades like Jazz Chisholm. They got him from Arizona in a 1v1 trade. So with Derek Jeter, were we too harsh on him when back in 2018, back in 2019, he was making all these deals? Were we too harsh on him? And we didn't really understand that he was playing the long game of being an owner and being an executive and not just short term.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that we were kind of being too harsh on him. I will honestly say, as a Derek Jeter fan, I honestly was being harsh on Derek Jeter, the owner and GM. Like, I definitely would 100% say that. Like, I was bashing him. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, hold on, wait a minute, you're gutting your team right now. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. But like, I definitely will agree with what you said. He definitely did it for the long game, which I'm a victim of sometime always thinking of now, especially, paying attention to these mainstream media outlets. I sometimes get sucked into what have you done for me lately? And I got to stop doing that because, as you correctly pointed out, Derek Jeter has shown that he might have been a genius for doing this for the long game. Are the Miami Marlins going to be a standout team in the next 3 years? Probably not. But in the long run, later down the line, I definitely see what he's trying to do. And if he does keep the position of where he's at, I definitely think that eventually the team will shape out to be something and be a competitive team down in that division. And I definitely see them probably making playoffs on a consistent basis if the road that Derek Jeter continues to go down continues to pan out.
Talking Major League Baseball here on the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. We're here with Double A from Stay Tuned. Major League Baseball and their rules. It's absurd. Like, Rob Manfred is really one of the worst commissioners in all of sports. Like, people complain about Adam Silver. At least he's competent. People complain about Roger Goodell. Well, at least he doesn't check for foreign substances every 6 minutes. When it comes to Gary Bettman, yes, he gets booed, but at least he doesn't get booed at the draft a million times over. I mean, the MLB draft, anytime he showed up at the podium, Rob Manfred got booed. I don't know if you saw that. But like at the MLB draft, anytime he got on stage, it was just deafening. Boo after boo after boo. So with Major League Baseball fans not liking him, MLB players flat out saying they don't like him, why is he still here? It's like that meme where like you see someone in the corner and you just see a group of people looking at him like, why are you still here?
I honestly think, man, it's because I may be too much of a theorist when I say this, but like I think it's more so the fact that like the owners pretty much view him as a puppet. Like they pretty much have control over him 100%. And like, yeah, exactly. He's just doing everything that the owners are telling him to do. And apart from like how you were saying, Adam Silver's competent. Adam Silver would actually put his foot down against the owners. That I give him credit for. He would be like, no, player, hold on, wait a minute. What you think you're doing? Roger Goodell, he has shown like some authority as well in that sense.
Jerry Jones.
Yeah. I notice how I said some. No, I said some. I seen the show Ballers as well. I believe that there was a lot of subliminal messages going on there. I will admit that. So but like as far as for baseball, I totally agree with you. This man got to go. But unfortunately, I don't see him going because of the fact that he's a puppet. He's a yes man. He bows down all the time, and I have seen and read articles of him doing it, and I just don't see MLB like wanting to do anything. Now, I will admit, like as far as this is just a side twist as far as the collective bargaining agreement goes, as far as for like all like American sports thing, baseball by far has the best collective bargaining agreement for players.
Oh
And
yeah.
in the MLB, once you sign on the dotted line, all that money is yours. And the proof of that is with some players not even currently playing right now, and they're still getting cashed out, or them being suspended and they're still getting cashed out.
Hey, Bobby Bonilla is the greatest day ever.
I was just gonna get to that one next. You got a player who swindled his way into getting a compounding interest deal, and now 30 years later is still getting paid from the New York Mets.
Talking Major League Baseball here on the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele. We're here with Double A from Stay Tuned. Before we do this segment called Flip the Script, where I have a guest ask me questions live on air, I do have one more baseball question. Will we have a strike? For the first time in 30 years, will there be a strike in Major League Baseball?
I say no. I say no. And the reason why I say no is just because of the fact that unless if it comes from the owner side and them wanting to take back some of those guarantees that these players are getting for their contracts, I don't necessarily see the players giving up anything. Because right now I feel like the players got it lavish. I'm just gonna put it out there as far as like money, them getting taken care of for what they got to do. Granted, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge baseball fan, but let's be quite honest here. Baseball is not necessarily 100% the most athletic sport in the world. Um, but I will say that I don't think that there's enough like heat there to make a strike happen. So no, I don't think that a strike is going to happen just yet. I don't see it happening.
Well, the NHL, they have a strike nearly every 9 years. So next year, NHL, let's see that strike eventually happen. Now, we're going to do a segment that we notoriously do on this show, where it's called Flip the Script. With about 5 minutes left in the show, I hand it over to the guest to ask your host, Rocco Rachiele, any questions they have on their mind, anything they want to know from their host, and anyone around the world who is watching the show. So Double A, what do you got?
So my question for you, Rocco, is, and I noticed with listening in and tuning in on your shows that this is probably one of my favorite things that you do with your show is letting us ask you questions. And my question for you, man, is pretty simple. Where do you think that the Bears will rank this year going into the 2021 season?
Ooh, I'll say this. In the NFC North, they're not better than Green Bay, not better than Minnesota. Like, those are going to be the top two. They are not worse than Detroit. Detroit is awful. Like, Detroit is going to be second to worst. All right, they're going to be behind. Like, Houston's right down here, but Detroit is barely above them when it comes to being the worst teams in the NFL. Chicago, they're going to be an average team this year. They're going to be 7-10. They'll probably be around that mark. Justin Fields, rookie of the year. I believe Justin Fields is going to have starter from day one. Andy Dalton is going to be the veteran on the sidelines. I like David Montgomery, top 10 running back in the league, just my opinion. And from a wide receiver perspective, they have about 5 or 6 wide receivers that can catch the ball on those medium passes. Offensive line, they got rid of some players, signed some, added the Taven Jenkins from Oklahoma State. And defensively, when it comes to Khalil Mack, one of the most underrated guys in the NFL. So many people bashed him, despite him having actually a better year in 2020 than he did in 2019, which explain to me how that works. And when it comes to Roquan Smith, one of the best linebackers in the
Yeah,
NFL.
top five, easily.
And Eddie Jackson, very underrated. You rarely ever hear him in the safety conversation. So Chicago will be around 7-10 this year, third place in the NFC North. What else you got?
So you kind of actually made a good segue for my second question. Do you really believe Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback going into week one? Because I have seen a lot of articles, especially coming from like source or quote unquote sources from teams and things like that, saying that Andy Dalton is going to be the starter first and kind of letting the Justin Fields get the sideline going and action going and getting him like slow rolled in. So my question for you is: do you really think that he's going to be the starting? Justin Fields is going to be the starting quarterback going into week one?
I believe he will be a starting quarterback in week one. If for some reason Andy Dalton is the quarterback by week one, by week 5, and Justin Fields is a starter. Like, I give Andy Dalton no more than 4 starts this year if he had to be a starting quarterback. He'll be what Mike Glennon was with Mitchell Trubisky. They had him start the first half of the season. Then they had Mitch come in and pretty much have growing pains the rest of the season.
I feel like that'll kind of hinder your guys' season, though. Like, if that happens, like if Andy Dalton, because those are wins that Justin Fields could get. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So, like, I believe he will be the starter from day one because in training camp, in all the sessions that have been documented, the management likes what they're seeing from Fields. The coaches like what they're seeing from Fields. So what I believe will happen with Andy Dalton is he will be the veteran quarterback holding the clipboard, helping the quarterback get better as time progresses. Ryan Fitzpatrick has done this in the past. We have seen veteran quarterbacks pretty much get brought in to help a rookie quarterback out. I think we even had that with the Ben Roethlisberger, Tommy Maddox situation back in the day. So I believe that Andy Dalton, if he did have to start by week 5, Justin Fields is being in, no doubt about it.
Sure. So my last and final question for you, Rocco, and I just want to say shout out to you, man, for having me on your show, and I greatly appreciate it, man. This is a great platform that you got here, very entertaining, and honestly, man, you're one of the best that I've heard in the business that do this. Just from my perspective, you know, I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong. Just listen to that twice before you judge me. So my last and final question for you, Rocco, is who do you think is going to be Rookie of the Year going into this 2021 season for the NFL?
Ooh, okay. It's funny because I had this conversation like not even earlier today, and I was telling people, watch out for Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, when it comes to the wide receiver position, he's really all they got in Philadelphia. He's pretty much option 1, option 2, and if Jalen Hurts doesn't have an option 3,
running back,
you go. Well, the problem with Miles Sanders is just I just don't see him as the guy. Like, I don't really see him as the workhorse that's going to be there and put his head down and do what's best for business. I just don't see it. So Devontae Smith, I would put him there. Trevor Lawrence is obviously the odds-on favorite. So Trevor Lawrence, Devontae Smith, those two would be offensive rookie of the year for me. Defensive rookie of the year, I'm going to go with from Miami, and he came from University of Miami, and that is Jalen Phillips. I saw his potential last year in college football. I believe it will transition over to the NFL nicely. So Jalen Phillips from Miami, and then I have Trevor Lawrence or Devontae Smith for offense.
You're right here. I'm in agreement with you, except for I kind of have a wild card in there. And my wild card, and this is only if Pittsburgh gets back to how they do, is Najee Harris. And this is not me being biased because he's from the Bay. I just think that, you know, with Pittsburgh and how they somehow get the best out of their running backs their rookie year or their first couple of years is phenomenal to me. So I definitely think Najee Harris is a wild card to win that rookie of the year for sure.
Before we get to the end of the show, I will say I do respect the Najee Harris pick. However, he's going to be running 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage with that offensive line. I mean, that offensive line is one of the worst in all the NFL. Sharon Mullen, Ramona Dye, like all the people that disagree with me, I will put down a bet. Like I will bet you that the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line will either A, injure him, or B, will cause him to literally get mental exhausted and pretty much just not want to run anymore. Because when you're behind one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, I mean, look what happened to Andrew Luck before they got Quentin Nelson and all those guys. Like, did you see the look on Andrew Luck's face? He was just like, get me out of here. So I will say with Najee Harris, I respect the pick. However, it's going to be hard to get 1,000 yards when you're running 10 yards backwards. So we've gotten towards the end of the show here on the Sports Angle. Go to our website, thesportsangle.com. Follow all our social media at The Sports Angle. And for all our audio listeners on iHeartRadio and Spotify, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. You do not miss any show. Double A, give you about a minute. Give out your social medias, any projects that you are working on. Let the world know where they can find you.
I appreciate that, Rocco. Thank you for having me on your show. This platform, like I said about 2 minutes ago, was phenomenal. Like I said also as well, you're one of the best in the game. Super professional. Your transitions are amazing. You're just one of the best to me. And honestly, like you're like you have that voice that I could easily just be entertained by and listen to all the time. So shout out to you, man, and your work. I definitely respect your hustle in your game. As far as for me, yes, my name is Adam Aflague. Usually most people call me Double A in the podcast lands. As far as where you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook with my first and last name, Adam Aflague. Also, too, what I'm currently doing right now, and I think Rocco knows this already, is I'm a licensed financial professional. I do help people with their finances, whether it's pre and post retirement strategies. I also help people create generational wealth for their families and also help people get out of debt as well. So just overall, all around, just a financial professional trying to make sure that each and every single person that I come across to that wants to get financial literacy gets taken care of for themselves and for their families. You can also find me on Stay Tuned, as Rocco has been saying throughout the show. We are live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Shout out to my boy, my cousin Josh Bailey, and the rest of the guys out there that'll do the show with me. We definitely need Rocco on the show again with us.
Hey, I need to get Joshua Bailey on the show. Like I haven't gotten him on the show yet. Come on now.
I'll connect you with the CEO. I got you. I'll connect you with them. I'll definitely make it happen. But yeah, man, one more time, Rocco, I definitely greatly appreciate you. And man, on a personal note, you and I should get together and kind of conversate on a further note. And definitely looking forward to getting to know you more, man. Like you're an amazing person. And yeah, man, this show is phenomenal. I stay listening to it all the time on Spotify. Shout out to you, man. So yeah.
Well, thanks for all the compliments. I normally am very uncomfortable with compliments, but I will take it this time because that's definitely appreciated. I appreciate all the support. Stay tuned. I know all of them. They're great at what they do. So once again, stay tuned. Double A. Go check out all of the content they have on their support. Stay tuned. And this is the Sports Angle. We are live weekdays, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Mountain, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. Follow us on all social medias at The Sports Angle and hit the subscribe and turn on notifications for all audio listeners so you don't miss any show. And until next time, rock on.